Alright folks, welcome back to Gamn Dood Brewing. If this is your first time here, welcome to Gamn Dood Brewing. Go ahead and hit subscribe right now, get it out of the way. Might as well hit like while you're in there. Anyways, today we're going to talk about what I do for my bourbon barrel. This is what I do for my barrel that has worked. Okay? So, if you do something different and that works for you, congratulations. I put my first batch into this barrel in 2012. It's still going clean. I mean, it's clean. I'm sure there's something in there, but it doesn't come through in the beer. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through what I do. I already emptied it. I got a little bit of footage of that, so I'll drop that in of emptying the barrel. Had a Russian Imperial Stout in there. I made this little contraption to get the goods out of the barrel. It's like a beer gun for barrels. I can get into that in more detail if you guys want, let me know. But this is more about barrel maintenance, keeping a clean barrel. And by clean, I mean not sour. So, like I said, I've had this since 2012. I put 16 batches through it. All clean. So, this is what I do. Emptied it. Dumped out all the rest of the sludge and stuff in the bottom. Then I went ahead and put it on its end like this. Filled up the cap with water. Let it sit for a day. Sorry if I hit the mic right there. Flipped it over, filled up the other cap, let it sit for a day. Now if it drains out real quick, you might want to do a couple days until the end swells back up. But this one only took about a day on each end, and it's nice and swollen. And when you fill up the end, go ahead and spray it all the way around. But now, since I just had a brew day, I've got some extra sparge water left over. So I'm going to use that to rinse out the inside of the barrel. You probably could use just tap water or whatever, but I've got good, clean sparge water that started off as RO. I'm just nervous about getting any like chlorines or anything in there, so I'm using this sparge water. I do add salts and stuff to my sparge water, so it's not RO water at this point. So we're going to use that. I'm going to fill this up, swoosh it around a little bit, maybe even let it sit for a day or so, and let like the inside's really hydrated from beer sitting in it for a couple years, but we'll swoosh it around and then we'll take it from there. Don't be worried about getting water everywhere on the old barrel. We want to keep it hydrated. This is basically just a rinsing step. I never like clean it with anything. I'm just gonna rinse it and then I'll steam it. I'll show you that in a few. I don't know if I'm going to steam it today. That's why I might let this sit in here. I don't want to let the water sit in the barrel for too long because it'll grow funky stuff. But we can let it sit for a day or two. And then we'll empty all the water out. And we'll give her a good steamage. And then figure out what we're going to put in it next. But in between beers, you need to really make sure you keep this barrel hydrated, because the staves will shrink up on you. The hoops will fall off, and not that you can't bring it back from that, but it can be tricky. I have forgotten this very barrel before and had hoops fall off and I brought it back. It wasn't super dry, but I mean it was dry enough to where one of the hoops fell down on it, and I thought I was toast. But I just pounded the hoop back on, soaked it in water a bunch of times, steamed it from the inside, came right back to life. If you're not going to put beer in it right away, then you might want to think about re-bourbonizing it. That is, you know, putting a fifth of bourbon in there and just spinning it around every couple days. Kind of get that bourbon infused in there again. Because when you've had a barrel this long and you've kept it clean, you probably have like leached out all that bourbon character. It actually takes a long time to burn through the oak character, I've found, but the bourbon character will kind of go away. And all you really got to do is leave the beer in there longer. But eventually it will leach out all that bourbon character. So a little re-bourbonization helps. I also tried filling it with like 500 milliliters of maple syrup, and I found out the hard way that for whatever reason that smarter people than me probably know, it's probably obvious, but that doesn't like swell the staves or anything. So I got up the next morning with maple syrup dripping everywhere. And maybe it does swell them up a little bit, but not as much as bourbon or water, because there was maple syrup straight up coming through the staves. So if you're going to do some maple syrup aging, all I had to do was just make sure the outside stayed, you know, hydrated. Keep the staves all nice and swelled up, and that maple syrup stays in there. And then you obviously not going to fill up the whole barrel with maple syrup. I mean, if you can, more power to you. But if you can't, you just give the barrel just a spin. You know, maybe every morning or whatever when you get up. Just give it a little spin. Let that syrup coat the whole barrel. And when you make it all the way around, go around again. And then whenever you're ready to put beer in it, just harvest that maple syrup. You got bourbon barrel aged, possibly even bourbon and stout barrel aged maple syrup. It's awesome. Done it a couple times now. And then you end up with a little bit of that maple syrup character hanging out in the barrel. It's definitely, it doesn't like overpower anything, so don't be nervous about that. It'll be, in my experience, it's been bourbon barrel first. And maybe if you're really looking, you pick up a hint of that maple. But this is the first stage after you've emptied the barrel. So stay tuned for the next stage. All right, folks, we're back for the next step in barrel maintenance. As you can see, we're in the depths of the Gamn Dood kitchens for the next stage in barrel maintenance. First thing you're going to need is a tasty brew. Second thing you need is the tea kettle. Now I like to use my transfer tubing when I'm steaming the barrel. That way I get a good steam sesh on my transfer tube, which is, you know, needs to be clean. Obviously you need the barrel. We got that going. But another thing you're going to need is this little device right here. This right here goes on the teapot and on your tubing. Okay? I made this, and you too can have one if you join BrewTubers. I'll make you one. So we're going to connect up. I've already got the tea kettle already in full steam mode. Go ahead and put that sucker on there. I actually already made some of these for some of the guys in the club, and I switched it over to like you know, this is the female design that goes over. But I switched it over to a male design, so there's a wider oh no, not so there's a wider. I did that because I noticed that a lot of the tea kettles on Amazon have a hinge. Ow, it seems hot. Weird. Has a hinge mechanism on the top, and the hinge got in the way. So I switched it over to an ID design. We'll pop that on there. It's going to take a minute, but we should start to get steaming action out of there. It takes a minute for everything to warm up because obviously the steam will start to condense on the cooler stuff until everything gets warm enough for the steam to go through it. But I can feel it getting warm. So I'm going to go ahead and coil this up on the counter. Wait for steamage. You also get this sweet BrewTubers glass. Join the club. Ooh, we have steamage. See the steamage? Alright, let's get it into the barrel. So we'll just shoot the steam into the barrel. until, I usually do it till I'm pretty much out of water. It'll probably be like a half an hour or so. Just remember to be careful because everything is going to get super hot. Even the barrel. Even this wood is going to get hot. So, especially the hoops, the wood. Not right away, but eventually it's going to get pretty hot, so just be careful with that. And then we're just going to let it steam. After that, we'll dump, because the water's gonna collect, the steam's gonna condense in the barrel, it's gonna do its stuff, and we're gonna end up with some water down here, so we'll dump that, and then we'll fill it with beer. Stay tuned. Alright folks, here we are, the next day. The final step of the however many step process I've done so far of barrel maintenance. Okay, so I stopped the steaming action last night, and then I put a fresh sanitized piece of tinfoil over the bung hole, and then just put some towels on it to hold it down on the hole, so that as it cools down, it can not create too much of a vacuum. Although I think the barrel can handle it, because that's how you get the barrel aging action. But I was going from super hot down to room temperature, so I didn't want to have too much of a vacuum. That's why I didn't clog up the bung hole or cork the bung hole. So last step, we're gonna fill it with a stout, about a 9%er, I think. I brewed a few days ago, as in a few weeks ago. So let's get this ready and let's put some beer in this barrel. As you can see, I like to shoot CO2 into the barrel while I'm filling it. I'll fill it up to about an inch away from the top, unless I don't catch it in time, in which case I'll fill it up to the very brim, and then just have beer in the airlock for a while. But I'm going to shoot for like an inch below the bung hole. We'll see what happens. It's hard to see in the bung hole. You also lose depth perception while gazing into the bung hole.
Alright folks, that's gonna do it for the barrel episode. We got it filled with stout. We have no leakage. I'm gonna document what I put in here on the end of the barrel like I've done since 2012. And Yeah, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out BrewTubers. I know I was pretty aggressive in the beginning with the comments, but go ahead and leave whatever comments you want, because you guys have been cool. And whatever, I mean, if you think you know something about barrels and you want me to know, then have at it. I'm always ready to learn. And if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Like I said, this technique has worked for me for a long time with the barrel, so it could work for you too.
Okay, so false ending. I forgot to mention that I only put vodka in the airlock of my barrel. It does evaporate off, but not as fast as you'd think. You know, just keep an eye on it every week or so. See if you got to top it off. But I don't drink vodka anyway, so it's a good use for the vodka that I acquire. And that way, if I get any suck back, it just, I mean, and if it sticks around and does anything, it's just going to give it that little alcohol note. So that's the airlock. I'm going to take it. I keep it downstairs where the temperature swings are a little less drastic. And yeah, that's the barrel. So until next time.
Cheers, everybody.
Coming soon to YouTube near you.